Good evening and welcome to the Kentucky School for the Deaf Virtual Community Forum on the next principal for the school. My name is Toni Kahns-Tatman, the Chief Communications Officer at the Kentucky Department of Education. I am excited to be here in Danville at KSD for this virtual forum to learn from you and gather feedback on the qualities you would like to see in the next KSD principal. This is truly an exciting time for KSD as the school just celebrated its bicentennial anniversary on April 10th in a week-long series of events. And it was such a monumental milestone and a testament to the dedication and the hard work of the entire KSD community over the past 2 centuries. As a side note, I went to the gala and had a wonderful time, and I know many of you were there as well. So I just want to express how exciting that gala was that evening as well. We have a number of Team KDE employees joining us tonight who are helping us conduct our search for a new principal. And I would like to take a moment to introduce everyone to you. Dr. Jason Glass is Kentucky's Education Commissioner and Chief Learner. In a moment, he will fill you in on where we are in the process of hiring KSD's new principal and our next steps. Also with me tonight are, and if you have your cameras and you're able to turn them on, our Associate Commissioner in KDE's Office of Special Education and Early Learning, Ms. Greta Hilton. Jane Painter, Director of State Schools, which includes KSD and the Kentucky School for the Blind. Amy Heislope, Human Resource Administrator in KDE's Division of Resource Management. Jennifer Ginn, the Assistant Director in the Division of Communications at the Department of Education. Tiffany Meredith, a Senior Advisor in our Communications Division. Jim Luba and Leslie McKinney, they are Strategic Data Analysis at KDE, who will they will be collecting all of the information received tonight to help us create a principal profile. And behind the scenes, helping us ensure a safe and steady virtual experience are Beth Gravitt, Regina Barrett, and Megan Osborne from KDE's Office of Education Technology. I would like to next kick it to our commissioner, Dr. Glass.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us tonight. For 200 years, the Kentucky School for the Deaf has been a model for how to address the educational needs of deaf and hard of hearing students. And I want to start off by saying that KDE and I are fully committed to the success of the school. It's very important that we incorporate students, staff, family, and community voices through this process so that we can make informed decisions as we proceed with this important search for the next principal. On April 28th, following the news of Toya Roby's retirement as principal of KSD, we immediately began the search for a new principal with the posting of the job description on the school's website and the KDE website. The job posting is open until this Friday, May 26th at 11:59 p.m. Before I continue, I want to thank Toya for her leadership these past 6 years. She's been a steady influence on KSD, and I appreciate the service she has provided to the school. And I know we all wish her well in this next phase of her life. Next slide, please. On May 4th, we launched the KSD Principal Profile Survey, which will close at 11 p.m. on Friday, June 2nd, so next Friday. So far, we've had more than 60 people share their thoughts about the strengths and challenges faced by KSD, as well as what qualities and skills they'd like to see in the new principal. So if you haven't filled out that survey, you can find the link to it on the screen and on the KDE and KSD websites. And it takes about 3 to 5 minutes to complete that survey, and we are using it and the information from tonight to inform the principal selection process. On May 11th, we announced the dates and times for these 2 community forums to seek more feedback, one virtual and one in person. And while the virtual community forum is tonight, the in-person forum is scheduled for 7 to 8 p.m. Wednesday, May 31st in the KSD gymnasium. On May 18th, we launched the KSD Principal Interview Committee Interest Form. So those of you who are interested in serving on the interview committee should enter your information on that. KDE will select the interview committee members based on the responses provided in the interest form and ensure appropriate representation is made of KSD stakeholders, and I will be the one selecting the members of the interview committee who will recommend candidates to me. If you're interested in serving on that interview committee, there is still time. The interest form closes at 5 p.m. on June 1st, and anyone selected to serve must be available June 12th through 30th to review applications and to conduct interviews. The link to the form is on the screen, and we'll also distribute that through the channels that we've been using to communicate with those interested in the search. And so that brings us to tonight. I want to stress that the purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide prospective candidates for the position of KSD principal with information about what strengths and challenges are at the school so that those interested in the job have a better understanding of how to prepare for the role. And a second purpose is to gather feedback on what qualities and skills you'd like to see in the new principal. As we go into this work, we'll be tightly focused on these two purposes tonight. Again, that's the strengths and challenges at KSD, and also gathering your priorities for the new principal. I'd like to ask Associate Commissioner Greta Hilton to share the governance structure at KSD and the qualifications for the new principal. And then Tony will fill you in on how we're operating tonight. And once again, just let me express my gratitude and appreciation for all of you being on with us. I know everyone is busy and we're closing in on the end of the school year and getting ready for summer. So there's a lot going on. So we're really grateful that you're with us tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner. I also want to take just a moment and concur with everything that Dr. Glass shared. Thank you for taking time to be with us tonight and to share your valuable insight and feedback. As Commissioner Glass stated, we are committed to selecting the best next principal for KSD. The school it's a legend. It's has such a rich culture and history. It is amazing, and it's certainly something that we want to continue to recognize and celebrate. On a side note, I'll share just a little bit of personal information. My grandmother has a quilt that was made at KSD in probably the late 1800s or early 1900s when her two aunts actually attended school there. And I have asked her to let me have that, and she won't. She keeps that put up because that culture and history is very important to her as well. So I just wanted to share that with you tonight. I also want to say thank you to Principal Roby for her leadership over the past 6 years. And I would also like to congratulate her as well as all of the KSD staff for the recent accreditation from CEASD. I know that was a huge undertaking, but the school was committed to that. And that's just another show of the excellent staff and leadership that we have had at the school and continue to have. So to share just a little bit about the organizational structure of KSD, in 2018, there was a major reorganization at the Kentucky Department of Education. And during that time, we were able to elevate the state schools back to a division. For a number of years, they had lived kind of in a branch, and I'll explain a little more about that later. And in doing that, of course, we created a brand new Office of Special Education and Early Learning and created 3 divisions within that office at that time. And the Division of State Schools was one of those. And I serve as the Associate Commissioner for the state schools and over the office. And Jane Painter is our current Director of State Schools. And so I'm going to turn it over to Jane just quickly to let her share a little bit with you around the qualifications for the next principal and some of the expectations. She will be the first line supervisor of the principal. And so I know she's really excited also to hear your feedback. So I will turn it over to you, Jane.
We'll give it 1 second to change the photo or to change the spotlight. There we are.
All right. Thank you, Associate Commissioner Hilton and Commissioner Glass. I would like to reiterate a thank you to everyone attending tonight. And I'll just go over the requirements for the next principal. and what we're looking for. And I'd like to say that first and foremost, we're looking for, a leader in education. But our main requirements are the next KSD principal should have administrative certification from the Kentucky Education Professional Standards Board for the performance of school principal duties, demonstrated successful leadership in working with students, staff, parents, and the general public, and 3 or more years of experience in curriculum and instruction, development, and implementation with direct experience assisting teachers and administrators in curriculum implementation and required instruction. In addition, we would give priority consideration to candidates with deaf and hard of hearing education with ASL. So I would like to reiterate that we are looking for a leader in education. And I would like to again thank Ms. Roby for her, her leadership here at Kentucky School for the Deaf. She has been a great leader for our staff and our students, and she's put her time and effort in, and she's done a great job. And so we can't say enough that she deserves her time with her family, and we just appreciate everything that she's done for us. So thank you all.
All right, so then let's get to tonight. We have a few housekeeping rules. I just want to go over how this will work. Tonight, we will be asking you a series of questions. As you can see, we have interpreters who will be helping translate for you and for us. Notes on what you are saying are being taken by our 2 KDE staff members who you met earlier, James and Leslie. They will be condensed into major themes and used by our interview committee when interviewing and considering candidates. You may ask questions by using the Q&A option on your screen or by using the reactions option to raise your hand, at which time your microphone and camera will be enabled. Please keep your microphone and camera off when you are not answering a question or asking a question. To respect the time of everyone in attendance, we ask that you limit your responses to about 3 minutes at a time, although you may answer multiple questions. This will help us ensure that everyone hopefully will be able to share with us their feedback, and then also allow for more questions to be answered at the end. If anyone tries to share abusive or inappropriate content, we will remove you from the meeting. So just wanted to get that out there, and let's go ahead to the next slide. First of all, using the Q&A function, please let us know your connection to KSD. Are you a current or former KSD educator or staff member, a current or former KSD student, a family member, or a member of the greater deaf and hard of hearing community? I believe the interpreter is. All right, we are gathering some of that feedback, and we will go ahead and spotlight. If someone, Jennifer, you may need to call on people since I'm not able to see the chat.
So, Tony,
Kanda?
we've got Heidi Givens on as a community supporter and deaf education teacher leader, an anonymous participant as a current staff member. Anthony McLetchie is on as a member of the deaf community, plus expert in deaf education leadership, as well as a superintendent at the School for the Deaf. Jennifer Harris is on. She graduated from KSD in 2006, and her grandma, dad, uncle, sister, and brother graduated from the school also, and her mom was a teacher. Vicki Brown is on as a staff member, and Misty Adams is on as a staff member. So those are the folks who have answered the question in the chat. Oh, and we have another, Kate Clevenger is on as a staff member as well.
Wonderful. I'm glad Kate was able to make it. I know I sent her an email this afternoon. So great to meet everyone.
Dawn Calbert has also come in
Perfect.
as a current employee. And a few more coming in, sorry. Anita Dowd, deaf adult parent of a former student, KCDHH staff. Barb Snap, former staff member of KSD and member of the Danville community.
Wonderful. We'll give it about another minute or so, just in case we've missed anyone. Okay. We will go to the next slide. Next, we would like you to name one good thing about the Kentucky School for the Deaf. You can either raise your hand to respond or drop your answers into the Q&A function.
Okay, Tony, looks like we have a few answers. We have from, we have KSD staff know our students and have a tremendous heart for their success. We have, this is Barbie Harris, retired teacher from KSD. I would like to say a few words. So can we bring her up, please?
Yeah, they should be able to spotlight her. Mm-hmm.
And while that's happening, we also have long, amazing history in deaf education.
Barbie Harris should be able to unmute and turn her camera on if she would like.
There she is.
Oh, finally. I was trying to find out how I could press the right buttons and it kept locking me out. So I finally figured it out. Hopefully all of you can see me. Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Glass and the other members from KDE, the interpreter. Thank you all for interpreting for us and providing that access. I do want to share with you and the individuals that are watching the procedures as far as looking for principals and having the ideas of how to get the best principal we can. I give thanks to Toya for the outstanding number of years that she has worked here at KSD. She has worked well with a variety of projects, and we appreciate you, Toya, for your time that you have given over the years. I've seen many, many things that have occurred because of you that have been so positive and challenging at the same time, but we'll put the challenging part aside for now. The question for you, as you make a list of those needs, is will you have a committee interviewing individuals And we are asking, will that committee be at least 51% deaf people and 50% or 49% hearing people, so that we have a balanced ratio of interviewers in the process as we ask questions of the candidate. Will that occur? And how we determine who will be invited, qualified individuals invited as leaders on the committee who are knowledgeable in deaf education, linguistics, communication styles, for those candidates to be able to run our facility. You know, KSD, you know, we're entering our 200th year, and we're hoping that we can continue with another 200 years. So we need to have the right person in place to move forward. If those candidates meet the criteria, they have communication skills, they understand linguistics, they understand social emotional needs, socialization skills for those students, that we can be mentors to our students here at KSD in the K through 12 settings. That's important so that they're successful in their adult years after they finish school. So that's one critical thing that I think the panel needs to be aware of, that we need to have representation of at least 51% being deaf, and then the remaining being hearing, but all be in that educational realm throughout the state.
Thank you, Barbie. We are not responding to questions tonight. We will be gathering questions that are asked and responding to those later, but this is mostly about hearing from you about your priorities. I'm hearing that a priority that you have is that the interview committee be made up of majority of deaf, hard of hearing individuals. My only response to that right now would be, it will be helpful if those that apply to be on that interview committee are deaf, hard of hearing individuals, so that will help us populate that group with those individuals. So if you are deaf and hard of hearing, please consider applying to be on the interview committee, and that will help.
Okay,
All right, thank you so much.
thank you, Barbie. All right, do we have another question or another good thing? The question is, please name one good thing about KSD. What makes you feel good about the school?
There
Okay.
have been several, go ahead, Jen.
I was going to say we have several in the Q&A. We have can't decide to one thing. Two things for me: exchange student to student during my senior year and discovered my skills in drafting. And now I am working as an architectural engineer. So that's awesome. Strong community involvement and support of students across the state is one response. Another response is students have direct and effective communication with teachers, staff, and peers, which is often not the case for a child in a mainstream setting. This allows the student to have meaningful involvement inside and outside of the classroom. We have rich history and strong foundation of deaf education in Kentucky. Teachers and staff who are committed to giving all deaf students the best education, a strong deaf community and alumni who advocate and continue to support KSD. We also have 100% access to everything for DHH students: instruction, communication, networking, extracurricular activities. We have also KSD staff bend over backwards for students. Many call KSD their home.
Thanks for reading those, Jen, and wanted to also express our appreciation to Barbie for coming on and speaking with us. If anyone else would like to come on and say a few words, you're welcome to do that now. We'll pause and just see if anyone wants to do that. And then Tony, I'll turn things back to you, and you can move us to the next question.
Okay. So the next, we can wait a second. We may not need, oh, it looks like Jennifer Harris has raised her hand. Let's go ahead and get her spotlighted.
Jennifer can turn her camera on and then we can spotlight her.
Well, thank you. I wasn't sure who was running this Zoom feature, read platform, whatever, but it's kind of difficult to know who is speaking and who is interpreting, but this is starting to work out now. Again, my name is Jennifer Harris, and I was one of the people that ran the gala that we had almost 2 months ago, and everyone had a fabulous time. And I so appreciate Katie's support for attending this with us. It was a great event. And now as far as the school, you know, we know that a deaf school has its own culture. It has everything that is needed by a deaf and hard of hearing child. It's kind of like another home for them. So the school itself can give all different types of activities, vocational training, academic training, extracurricular activities, everything from A to Z. And I can't just pick one positive comment about the school because there's so many things that the school encompasses. But thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Jennifer. I had a great time at the gala. You did a wonderful job. Wonderful job.
Thank you.
So really the next question was to name a second good thing about KSD. I feel like we are still in that arena. So if anybody has another good thing that we can list, and you know, once again, this may seem a little silly, but we are, with all of these answers, they will be put into a profile that will be very, very helpful to the Department of Education in its search. So I promise you, there is a reason for all of this, and why we're doing it this way. I think that you will like the profile that is put together. I'll give it about a minute or so if anybody else would like to add another good thing about KSD, and then we can go on to the next question. Do we have any more questions or responses in the Q&A that we have not gotten to before we go to the next category?
Just one, Tony. We have deaf teachers.
So a good thing about
Oh.
KSD is we have deaf teachers.
And there's another one, getting CEASD accreditation.
Congratulations on that. That is amazing. Okay, let's go to our next category of questions. This will be to discuss some of the challenges that you see as a member or stakeholder in the deaf community. Please name one challenge you feel there is that faces KSD today as we speak this evening. You can either raise your hand to respond or drop your responses into the Q&A function.
Okay, we already have one in the Q&A, and one of the challenges is low enrollment.
Okay, do we have any more challenges? Does anybody would like to raise their hand?
We have another one in the Q&A, and it's deaf teachers and teachers know. Oh, wait a minute. Well, it's deaf teachers and teachers know ASL. I don't know if that's an advantage or if that's a challenge. Well, I'm assuming it's a challenge. And only 4 deaf teachers at KSD right now. There's another Finding CTE Teachers with Deaf Education Certification and ASL Fluency. And it looks like we've got Jennifer Harris raising her hand.
Okay. All right, we'll wait for Jennifer to be spotlighted. There she is again. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yes, I was trying to make sure my screen was set up right, but anyhow, I think one of the biggest challenges that KSD faces now is the fact that enrollment has decreased and being able to hire teachers that know American Sign Language. Right now, they are hiring teachers that do not American Sign Language. So you have interpreters working with the teachers, and the students are having to watch the interpreters instead of watching the teachers. I think that's a really serious challenge. We need teachers that can sign in American Sign Language, communicate with the students.
Okay. Jennifer, can I ask you a question? Go ahead and put her back on for a moment.
Oh, yes.
Just wondering, do you have any ideas on how we could possibly recruit more deaf or hard of hearing staff to Kentucky or to the teaching profession?
Are you talking about students or?
No, teachers. What can we do better to recruit perhaps more teachers or deaf, hard of hearing individuals to teach at KSD?
Okay, I understand. As far as deaf teachers, I can tell you from my own experience personally, I do not have an education degree, but one of my challenges was that to get the certification that was needed in order to teach, often a person will be eliminated because they don't have teacher certification, but they are well versed and knowledgeable and have some type of certification in that subject area or field. You could give them emergency certification and give them, like 2 or 3 years to gain that certification. For example, myself in my field, I've got degrees in it, but I was willing to work toward teacher certification. And I did apply for working with the wood class and the drafting type of classes that were in there. And I met all of the qualifications, but I did not possess a teacher certification. And then when I read the requirements, they said, well, you have to be fully qualified. And I said, I'm qualified in everything other than, and I'm willing to work for that certification. But I was eliminated and not allowed to, be involved or interviewed. And so I felt like, on paper, I thought that's one thing, but to know who I am as an individual and my skills and ability, I was not allowed to be interviewed for that position, and I was qualified in most every other way.
Thank you so much for your feedback on that. I know that we are looking into emergency certifications in several areas, so that's good feedback to have. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Do we have any other in the Q&A? Any other questions or comments in the? We have one more hand raised. Buddy. We will work to get Buddy spotlighted.
Buddy, could you please turn your camera on?
There he is.
Okay. I was trying to figure out the mechanics here. My name's Buddy. I'm actually Clyde Mohan, but everyone knows me as Buddy. But anyway, I have 2 comments. I'll get to one a little later. But the answer, as Jennifer had mentioned, is that how do we recruit? And the difficulty has always been the same old story. There are people out there who look at KSD and have been for the last 5, 6, 7 years as enrollment has dwindled, that they get a little apprehensive about moving, and with the restrictions of, whatever may be in place from the state, with the move that they have to come, to our state to work, that's difficult for them. Now, when you're looking at deaf and hearing individuals, most deaf individuals, they're looking for better schools for their students. They're looking, for better schools out there, so to speak, California, New Jersey, New Mexico. There's a long list of people being recruited to those other schools, and it makes it difficult for us to recruit them here if we don't support them with the deaf community that we have intact. And we need to make those changes, that we make a priority. Dr. Blast, yourself, for example, you recruited and pulled people in to work for us. Instead of waiting for them to come to us, we need to approach them and say, we want you here so that we can get the top people at our school. After, 40 years, we've had superintendents and principals who have come to Gallaudet or used to go to Gallaudet and recruit individuals finishing school there and bring those individuals to our school. And many of those people stayed with us for decades, 10, 20, 30 years teaching at KSD. And I think that we need to look at recruiting the top-notch individuals, waiting for them to come to us. I think we need to go to them and recruit them actively. Can I make another comment as well?
Sure. So let me just see if I've captured that correctly. And I think that you're dead on that with a big challenge for KSD is the recruitment of teachers and to get qualified people to move here to Kentucky who will want to teach at KSD.
Correct. And how we recruit them. We want people that want to teach, but, are they a good fit for KSD? That's another challenge. Are they a good fit? We may have people come, but as Dr. Blash, he's gone to other universities and it's like, what is it that makes you want to move here? What is it that you want about, Kentucky? And for us to say, we want you to move to Kentucky, we need to see what we can do to improve that ability for, number one, having people who want to be a teacher, and then recruit nationwide so that we can get that list of individuals willing to come. And we will shortly rule out those who are not good fits. But, if, you have individuals who want and have that desire to work in a deaf school, we need to maybe have a mindset change of how we go out and recruit those individuals we want to have here. And I think that's the key.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate your feedback on that question. Thank you.
Sure enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Looks like we have another,
We've got another 20 minutes, so I'll just save my comments until later.
did you have something else to say, buddy?
But it's not related to this question. It's another comment that I'd like to make, but I have this vision, but I can hold that till later if you like.
Okay, we'll have some time at the end. I believe that you'll have some opportunity.
Okay, I will do that.
All right, so just a quick announcement. We can't spotlight you until you turn your camera on. So I'll call on the next person, but we really do need you to turn your camera on so that we can put you onto the screen. We have Anthony A.L. McLetchie has his hand raised. Yes, welcome.
Hello. Well, first of all, my name is Anthony, and I'm the superintendent of the school in Rochester, at Rochester School for the Deaf in New York. And I recognize the issues that you are discussing, especially about recruiting teachers. A lot of the schools are in the same boat as you all over the country when it comes to deaf education. It's the same issue we've seen. And then sometimes, it could be that, you ask like people like Jennifer for ideas and how to think out of the box for your school and how to do get faculty and recruit faculty that have, like, even some type of faculty assistants that have the ability and want to become teachers, and let them work with teachers until they can get their own certification. And help them be involved in teacher training programs. I know that there is a program in Massachusetts that they have a master's in deaf education, and they have online courses that you can take. And I happen to be on that advisory board, and I don't, I'm not trying to recruit for them, but I'm just saying there are ways to gain that certification. And so that is a strong recommendation to consider, to have deaf individuals who want to become teachers, let them work as assistants and work with online courses to get their certification. We've been doing this program for 3 years now, and we are getting people that are getting very close to their certification. And once they complete their masters, they will be certified. And that is one way that you can grow the number of deaf and hard of hearing teachers to work for your school. Thank you for letting me participate.
Thank you, Anthony. All right, so any others that would like to turn their hand on? One challenge for the Kentucky School for the Deaf. So we have heard about recruitment of teachers and hard of hearing and deaf individuals. We are looking for maybe perhaps another challenge that has not been mentioned, or perhaps mentioned in a different way. Jennifer, do we have any people in the Q&A?
Yeah, we've got several. There is low enrollment and challenge convincing districts and families to send their children far away to KSD. No information technology class offered at KSD. Eliminate the requirement for the praxis for hiring deaf teachers. One challenge is the ability to advertise what we offer at KSD. I think many people are unaware of the awesome skills our staff bring to the table to serve our deaf and hard of hearing students. So many things happen and are accomplished at KSD by our students that the general public are unaware of. I think if there were a way to advertise and show off KSD itself more, that would help increase our numbers and deaf staff. Then we also have KSD needs to form partnerships with deaf education programs at places like Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C. and Lamar University in Texas, not just EKU. We have, in the past, when I was on the advisory board, a huge issue was how limited the actual advertising was for open positions. These positions need to be advertised on national deaf-related websites. There are many. Very few people are going to see these if they are only posted on the KDE, Kentucky State Personnel, and KSD websites. I did a search yesterday for the principal announcement and could only find it on 2 national deaf-related websites. We have I think one other challenge KSD has is that there is no formal communication policy regarding the use of ASL that is supported across campus to show others that we value the language. We have location of KSD, not ideal for many people who are from out of state because they do not want to live in a small town like Danville, especially single people. We have had some families who want to send their child to KSD, but they don't want their child to live in the dorm. They don't want to give up their jobs at home by moving to the Danville area so that their child could attend KSD as a day student. They know they would have a difficult time finding a new job within the Danville area. We also have, let me see, salaries for KSD's instructional aides, housekeeping, maintenance staff, and the student life dorm staff are way too low.
Now, do we have anyone else that would like to talk about a challenge or 2 for KSD?
Okay, another one just came in. The past several principals have not had a background in deaf education or ASL fluency. This sometimes resulted in a negative outside perception of KSD. It is exciting to see this new process for selecting the new principal, the transparency and the commitment to finding someone with a deaf education background and ASL fluency. You. We have an addition to that one. It is, I will say that the past principals were motivated to learn over time, which is positive. Then we also had a new statement, old buildings need updated buildings to match current programs. And I believe Barbie Harris said she would like to express a community challenge. Barbie, would you like to speak again?
Okay, I'm on, all right. Regarding community. You know, we are a deaf residential school. And in Kentucky, we need to challenge ourselves to, here at KSD as a group, we need to collaborate in partnership with the community to promote the community, the deaf school, you know, Danville itself, you know, we have Boyle County Schools, we have the Danville Public Schools, who have traditionally mainstream students to and from where we did across between those schools, where we would bring students from Danville or Boyle County to our campus, and our students would go out. We had various groups. We had Boy Scouts, we had ag programs, you know, the FAA, community-wide, where we had partnerships with those other school districts. And I think that we need to challenge those school districts to reinstate that, not only here in Danville, but looking at perhaps Lexington or Louisville or Frankfurt or some of those other area schools that have programs with deaf students. I see the potential there that we can pull together all of those communities, network with those communities to be more engaged with partnerships that benefit the students if we collaborate with those other programs, you know, whether it be student life or academics or, you know, Boy and Girl Scouts, you know, so that they have leadership training. If we can work within our community and outside of our community so that students get additional experiences. And yes, I think it's good that we do some collaboration with other groups of students, not only deaf, but we expose both groups to each other, and I think it benefits students overall to do that. There was one other item that's left me for the moment. Let me think. Well, it's left me. I had another thought. Oh, yes, I recall now. I would like to challenge other parts of our community that I would like to see vocational education programs be reinstated. For years, we had an outstanding vocational trades, you know, the tech center. We had woodworking, we had the auto body shop, we had the seamstress, home ec, various programs, vocational programs, you know, for male and female students. And I think that that's challenging for them. So, some of those things that they can gain experience at on our campus, welding, we had at one time, arts. I'm trying to think, it was, shoemaking, some of those older programs, hairdressing. We had all of those programs in place over the years, but as enrollment dwindled, those programs were eliminated. And so now we only have art, and art's great. I see a lot of improvement with our students in the arts, outstanding students in woodworking at KSD. The ag program, the farming program, the FAA program, I think they do an outstanding job. So those are three, but I think we need to expand some of those vocational type programs and challenge ourselves with that. If we could have some cross training where they could go out to the mainstream programs within our community and be engaged, and then have those community schools come to our campus to be engaged, I think it would be an appropriate way to expand students' knowledge. And that, for auto body, as an example, we had a number of students that were engaged in that. We no longer have that program on campus, but if our students can be engaged in other programs within the community, I think the challenge is, what do we look at for the future? Technology is big now, with all types of areas that students can go into, but what do we look at for future trainings that our students can be engaged with, technology, and even with mechanics and auto mechanics and things like that, that's all technology now. But how do we engage them with the greater community to be able to achieve those skills?
Thank you, Barbie. I would like to second your thoughts on woodworking. At the gala, there was some lovely pieces of woodworking that were there on the auction, and they were just absolutely beautiful. I understand Toya told me that they were done by students here, and I did not win the bid on that one, but somebody was very, very lucky on that one. All right. Do we have any more challenges in the Q&A? It looks like we're clear on that one. We will move over. Byron Wilson raised his hand. Byron, if you can turn your camera on and we can get you spotlighted.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Please pardon me, my appearance right now, but today we had our field day at school in the elementary program, and I'm still dressed for that event, and I haven't had time to go home and change my clothes. But anyhow, what the teachers here at KSD currently are seeing from and would like to see for our new principal is that the person who is hired would love for them to be committed for the long run and to stay with us. Because I have been teaching for 25 years. And Toya was actually my 7th or maybe 9th principals in my 25-year career here at KSD. And Toya was actually the one who stayed the longest of all of those by being here almost 6 years or maybe more. The principals before her did not stay as long, and there were lots of turnovers. And so we finally had Toya, who stayed with us for 6 years, and that really made a difference. The teachers here at KSD would love to see the new principal be committed to stay with the school for the long term. And thank you.
Thank you
for allowing me to offer my ideas and suggestions.
Thank you, Byron, and thank you for being a teacher. We appreciate your service. Looks like
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I think in the essence of time, we are running up close to time. So I'm gonna, looks like Clyde has raised his hand, or Buddy has raised his hand. If we can move on, I know you wanted to get to the, we want to get to the questions or the other feedback items. And I have one more question before we get there, if that is okay with you. And that is the qualities and skills. I know that we have identified several of those already. So we don't need to, unless you feel like you need to mention that again. We've heard some of the qualities and skills that you would like the new principal to have. If there's anything else that has not been mentioned, let's go ahead and spend about a minute or two on this, and then we will get to the next question. Okay, we have 2 participants that have raised their hand. And this is a question about qualities and skills. So if we can keep to this topic right now, and then we will get to the last question, and it deals with additional information and questions that you might have. Go ahead. It looks like Clyde, you have your hand raised. We need to have the camera on in order to spotlight you. I think the other hand is Anthony, so we can go to Anthony and then we'll go back to Clyde.
I think Clyde's having some issues with this camera, but anyhow, as far as qualities and skills that, oh,
No, you can go ahead. That's fine. Clyde can stay on. That's fine. We'll get to Clyde next. Go ahead, Anthony. You can leave your camera on.
okay. That's fine. So first of all, as far as, you know, as the superintendent myself right now, when it comes to qualities and skills that are necessary for a good principal, when you advertise someone that to have a degree or experience in deaf education and American Sign Language, it actually needs to be both deaf education degree and be fluent in American Sign Language. I think, you know, like I mentioned earlier, thinking out of the box, that's a strong challenge for us. But unfortunately, there's a lot of deaf teachers that are deaf people are not becoming teachers anymore. And we really want someone that has experience, knowledge in deaf education to improve the school and to recruit the teachers that you need so that you have greater enrollment and you can attract students and be recognized as the school that has qualified people. And I know when I came to visit for the 200th anniversary, the gala and stuff, I was talking with a lot of my peers and they were talking about how important it is and that it is just time for the school to hire someone that has deaf education and American Sign Language skills. Both.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. Go ahead, Clyde, our buddy.
Okay, thank you. There are several things that I would like to share. Firstly, for the principal, yes, I agree. They need to be certified. They need to have administrative skills. You know, those are easy somewhat to find. But I think the greater challenge is to have someone who understands ASL and has what we call the deaf heart. You know, they need to understand the deaf community, the deaf culture. I think that's number one. Number two, they have to have an understanding of bilingual education and those needs. You know, when you have ASL in English, and I know that someone mentioned one time, well, we should be accepting of ASL. And yes, we do need to have someone, and we adopt the ASL program and the language, but we also need to have someone who is versed in what's good for the school. How do we engage the school and encompass the school and have that exciting movement that can occur in school. We get oftentimes limited by some of the mandates from KDE. You know, they're pushing for change, but I think we need to look at how we change from within and from without. You know, whether that's in instructional areas in student life, I think that we need to push that area as well. For those who do not come to the school, they don't know what we have to offer. Others who do come into the school, they're not knowing what they need to look for on our campus because they don't understand what we offer. We need to engage those individuals, be inviting to have them come to our campus and be engaged and feel welcomed when they come to campus. Yes, we have an outstanding program. We have good leaders, but does the hearing community know that, the community at large? I think we need to have a way to raise that awareness so that those people are aware of what we do offer here at the school. And I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to sit in and chat with you about my concerns. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Buddy. We appreciate all of our stakeholders that care and love KSD as much as we do. All right, I will go to the last question. I know some of you have been waiting on this one. This is really kind of an open-ended opportunity for you to just talk to us about other things that have not been mentioned, again, in the essence of time and just the respect for everyone else's time here this evening. If there's anything that, you know, we have not mentioned already that you would like to bring up at this time, we'd like to hear from you, and you can raise your hand or use the response in the Q&A. If you would like to come on camera and be spotlighted, we do need you to actually turn the camera on. And if we can limit our responses to about 2 or 3 minutes, I think we can get a few in. Right, Jennifer Harris.
Hello again. I know you're getting tired of me, but anyhow, I was wondering if you could possibly answer my question. I'm not sure or not, but I know with the principal search that you are doing, there's really such a short timeline. And I'm wondering if you don't get a suitable enough amount of candidates, is it possible to, are you going to hire an interim principal to work for KSD in the meantime, or how's that going to be handled?
Sure, I can address that. I think our primary goal will be to find a quality candidate in this search and place them for the permanent role. But of course, if we're not able to do that, we'll have to look at other options. But I think we need to go through this process now and see where we are. And we've worked to expand recruiting and advertising. We have some ideas tonight about how that could be further expanded. And so I think we need to get a little further in the process before we make that determination.
Thank you, Dr. Glass.
Do we have any other people that would like to raise their hands and use the camera or enter your response in the Q&A?
We have a couple of in the Q&A, Tony.
Okay.
We have one that is besides all the qualities expressed, the next principle. Oh, one just disappeared. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so
You'll
one that's
find it in the answered section, Jen.
Oh, okay. Besides all the qualities expressed, the next principal should be one who embraces and listens to the voices of the students, staff, and community, a collaborator and a team leader. And the other one is, I would love for our new leadership to recognize that our population needs formal ASL courses, just like hearing students need formal English courses. That's what's in there so far.
Great. I love collaborator and team leader. That's great. I'll give it a few more minutes. We're not doing too bad.
We did have one more comment that got moved over to the answered file. It's also a proven instructional leader as well who really understands how deaf, hard of hearing students learn.
Right. All right, we can move on to the next slide. And this is really just about our next steps, just to remind you about how we will proceed with the rest of the search. We will be hosting the in-person community forum next week here at the Kentucky School for the Deaf. It'll be in the gymnasium. So feel free to let your friends or other stakeholders know about this additional forum. We would love to see you there. The information that we gather at these two forums and in the survey that we have shared earlier will be condensed into some major themes that will be used by the interview committee when considering candidates. Just as a reminder, the window for people to apply for the KSD principal position closes this Friday on May 26th. So if you know of any, or you belong to any of those listservs or things like that, please share. There's, you know, I know that we've tried to do some advertisements on it, but, you know, sometimes it helps to have word of mouth or to share it in listservs or communities that you may have. So please, please, please share that listing and encourage people to apply. We anticipate that the interviews will take place the week of June 19th. And we really are trying for that start date of July 1st for the new principal. But as Dr. Glass had mentioned, you know, we want to make sure that this is a good process and that people are well prepared to enter this a very important role at the Kentucky School for the Deaf. We will be sharing information with our stakeholders and our community as we go through this process. As you have probably seen, we have done a number of press releases. We have done a number of stories on our online publication, KentuckyTeacher.org, that you can look and search for the KSD. We also share lots of stories about KSD, so I encourage you to take a look at that. And you can sign up for more information, anything about the search. You can sign up with this link. I know many of you probably already have done that, but anytime that we send out a news information or a press information about press release about the KSD principal in the search, you will be notified via email. That is what that form is for. Did I see that we had another question? Who does that need to be shared with? Just anybody that you think that you saw the qualifications for KSD principal. If you think of somebody who may qualify for that and may be interested in being our principal here at KSD, share that with them and encourage them to apply. All right, I think that concludes our forum for this evening. I want to say I'm excited to come back on Friday for our class of 2023 graduation. I hear that there is a special graduate that will be honored. So I'm really, really excited about that opportunity. I know Dr. Glass and I think Greta and most of us will be back here for graduation on Friday. So I hope everyone has a wonderful night. Thank you so much for your time. We know that it's into the evening hours, but we sure do appreciate you coming and visiting with us tonight. Thank you.